Hey guys, welcome to the show. Today we have two major leaks going on from Meta. One is Project Cambria. Very excited about this one. And also we have the VR AirBridge dongle. We have so much to go over. Let's do it. So ready, headset, go. Welcome back to the show, guys. I'm Tony Hansen, joined by Rob Sprance, and today we're going over all things Meta. We have two major leaks today. I'm going to go right to Rob. Rob, we have Cambria, and we also have the AirBridge. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of buzz on the internet today because Meta's new headset, which they are planning to release it in 2022. We touched on it a little bit when we talked about upcoming headsets, but there's a little more to it now. They've been very clear about it not being a Quest 3. It's a completely different type of product, but they didn't say much. They shared some vague images of it, but there is a YouTuber that claims to have seen actual photos of it, and he's gone ahead and had someone render him in 3D based on exactly what he saw in the photos.
Right.
So just to kind of give a quick overview, this is from Road to VR. So this is news that just broke like a couple hours beforehand, and I have some of the pictures to show, and it kind of gives a little better of an idea of where this might be targeted and what this might be for. So from roadtovr.com, they say YouTuber, sadly, it's Bradley, that's the name of the YouTuber if you want to check it out, claims to have seen actual photos of production model of Meta's next gen reality headset, Project Cambria. They aren't sharing source photos, so instead they worked with a 3D modeler to create a detailed rendering of what the photos showed. Now, here I'm going to throw up some of these here. This first one is an interesting one. First of all, because the form factor, as you can see, is much smaller than any VR headset out there right now. And you can also see there are 4 cameras in the middle and 2 cameras on the bottom. Now, the Meta has said a few times over that the pass-through cameras on this Cambria are going to be color. And that could definitely lend to a lot more mixed reality scenarios. So I'm wondering if this is focused specifically towards mixed reality, because if you look at this one, this side view here, there is nothing blocking the light from the sides and from the bottom. And I first looked at that, and that was a concern right away. I'm like, if this is a VR headset, like, why let tons of light in, especially when it can cause a lot of glare and everything else? But those are newer pancake style lenses. Those aren't the old school Fresnel lenses that we're used to in all of the headsets that do have these God rays that show up based on reflection. So, at first I thought this is a terrible idea. Like, how are you going to use VR like this when you can barely block out the lights? Almost to the point. But the more I thought about it, I think this is specifically for business and mixed virtual reality functions. For example, you can all be in a meeting together and all have your headsets on, and it's much more comfortable. Here's a side view. I mean, this is a very light profile and form factor. There's no doubt about that. It's the smallest yet. So if you throw this on, all right, let's say you want to be functional at work, right? And let's say I sit at my desk, but the second I put this on, now that we have full high def 4K color cameras, right? All of a sudden, I still see my environment, but now I can have overlays on it. I can add 3 monitors just in the air while I'm working on one, which I'm really literally looking at.
So when you say mixed reality, you're actually referring to augmented reality, I believe, right?
Yeah, well, mixed reality, augmented, it's all one and the same. It's really, but you'll be able to see your world, but yes, augment it with different things. So, imagine I'm sitting at my desk, but I want the behind me to just be a forest one day, and I can just make that a forest, throw 2 virtual monitors on either side. Now, there are apps that let you do this now only fully in VR, where you can go into like a fake conference room and throw up a bunch of huge monitors. But just imagine, like, you see your real world, but at the same time, you also get to augment it with extra monitors and cool things like that.
I think I can add something cool to this because I saw a presentation, I think more than a year ago, where someone was on stage and they showed us playing Minecraft in front of an audience, and you could see his world in the front, and through the goggles, you can see the world floating there, and it felt like kind of like a Minority Report situation where he can make it bigger. He's actually playing it, and then it's right there on the table. You're not only seeing what you're seeing here, you're seeing it literally on the table, physically in the world in front of you. So
Yeah. I think what you saw was Microsoft's HoloLens is what it was called, which they stopped doing anything with that, but the concept was exactly what you described. Yes. So, you think about the different uses of this. It's not to the point of just glasses where you can walk around and look at street signs and see things, and look at a building and see the information. That day's coming too, because, Apple's working on glasses, and, even Snapchat now just has glasses that are just filters and things like that. But the one that Apple's working on, they are working on a VR headset, but they're also working on glasses. And that's going to be very cool in a lot of ways too. Imagine, like, I am in Manhattan a lot. Imagine I'm downtown in the Village where there's no street numbers and I need to find something. All of a sudden now I have the navigation turns just in my peripheral view, and I'm walking and I can get a message and I can see it in my peripheral view. And, that's why a lot of these technologies are combining and developing two huge parts. One is the augmented part, but the other is the voice control. Siri, I'm not going to say the other one's name because it's right here. But even in the case of Meta, their headset does have some voice control to it. So, just imagine most of the time with these, you won't have to interact with your hands. You won't get a message and then have to type somewhere. You can just say reply and say your message back. Yes, you may look insane walking down the street talking to yourself, but in New York City, that's perfect.
That's pretty much where we're at right now. People have earbuds in, so
exactly. So it's not that much different from that. So my thought is this is probably where it's going to be focused. Now, Meta has said it again. Meta has said, I want to call them Facebook, frankly, because I don't like. I refuse.
I know. I have that problem too.
I refuse to acknowledge it, but so Facebook has said that what they said is this one's going to be more money than the Quest 2, which right now I think is $299.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking this will probably be more in the $500-$600 range. Now, if they decide to focus this on enterprise, which could also be a possibility, it could be a $1,000 headset. The second anything's for enterprise, it's way more money. It could be for business development. Imagine things like training for police officers. And, we always just tend to think of things in the home world as far as gaming goes and stuff like that. But that's not always the case. Sometimes things are developed for pilots to teach them how to fly a plane, and all of these different things that you learn, you can learn with this. Like, you can be flying a plane for real with an instructor, but you're also getting more instructions there. Like, I look at the gauges and it tells me what the gauges are in a more detailed way and stuff like that. So it could be that this is more focused to business and the enterprise and market. And I could see meetings this way too. They've been pushing a lot their virtual meeting applications and things like that too. And I really do think that they're going to start a pivot now, moving more towards that type of thing than games. I do think that they use the games to lure people in, but I think this is their end goal, because at the end of the day, we know what their real goal is. It's for data. It's to collect data in any way, shape, or form. That's what they do. And this headset's, they've already said it's going to have eye tracking. So yes, they can track exactly what you're looking at any given time, including an ad. I'm not saying that's the only purpose of it. Foveated rendering is another reason. So they can focus the resolution to exactly where you're looking. So if I look in the upper right, it can follow you so that the outside area doesn't have to be as sharp, and it's easier to process and make it look better. But this is them. I think we know what they'll want to do with this. They'll want to get it in businesses, have people have meetings. Just imagine all of the data you'll have at your disposal when that happens. If that's that's a price you pay sometimes for development and research of this technology. Now they're not the only ones developing an augmented headset. They're not the only ones. Even the Vive Flow has a very similar small form factor to this, but all that is really a media consumption device.
Mhm.
It doesn't do much of anything else.
It definitely feels like we're in like a technology race to see who can get to the most practical and usable version of a VR form yet. And while we've now, because there was a long time when we were trying to get into VR and they kept talking about it, but nothing was coming out. And finally, I feel like a few of them broke in, and obviously Oculus is one of those ones that becomes the one that people become like their first headset. They're going to try it out. But now it seems like, okay, we know that there is a market here. Like they always knew there was a market there. I shouldn't even say that, but they know that we've kind of accomplished that first step, and now we want to take the real step. Like the beta is done, and it's kind of like where the chips are going to fall, because what are the problems? We know that the problems are it's simply too big, and that's a huge problem for some people. Yes, you'll get we talked about this before. Yes, you'll get the gamer, but will you get mom and dad and grandma and grandpa? They want everybody. And they want to be practical, where you can wear it on the street. Which Google Glass is Google Glass or Google Glasses? I forget.
It was Google Glass, yeah.
So Google Glass came out, and people just like weren't ready for it, and people were just like, and it didn't work right. I heard there were problems.
Yeah,
so
plus everybody saw you. They were clearly, they didn't just look like glasses. Like they had a big bar on the side with a cap.
yes,
And everybody you're talking to thinks you're filming them at any given time.
right. It just wasn't the right time for it. So I think that, I mean, I guarantee you that, I think I heard him say that he wanted to put it on contact lenses. Like that's like his ultimate goal, like, which would be amazing. Walk around and I can pull something up. How great would that be for an eighth grader to have in class to cheat on his exam? Just have all the internet there, all the answers.
I know it's so true, but that's eventually, yeah, that will happen. It's going to be. It might not be in our lifetime when it's contact lenses, but it will be in someone's for sure. That's going to be the case, and we've all seen those movies that depict the future with all of a sudden there's a hologram here, there's this there, and everything else, and you just assume that in the future it's going to be visible by everyone, but really the only way to make that feasible is to make it visible by the person by changing their eyesight.
Right.
So I've always been excited about augmented reality and what it can do. And this is not something like you can't wear this on the street, walking down the street, especially with the front here. You'll walk right into a car. But
Right.
but in the office environment, I could see that. In the day and age,
Right.
let's face it, people aren't meeting as much because of COVID. It's still the case. People are going to start doing things like this and seeing each other's avatars instead of seeing each other's actual selves, because clearly you'll just see everybody else with headsets on, and you don't want to see that.
Right.
And you and I have talked about doing an episode like from VR chat or something like
Right.
that, just to kind of show what it's like there, and we should still do that. But I'm excited to see where this goes. I don't know if I'm down to buy it yet, considering I have a bunch of headsets and I'm down to buy pretty much anything that's going to change the game to the next level for me. So I'm watching it with optimism, and let's see what actually it becomes, because there's a big difference between speculation and leaks and just seeing the piece of hardware versus seeing actually what it does. Like if I showed you the iPhone, the next iPhone a year before it came out, it would just look like an iPhone at this point. Like you wouldn't know until you see how it works with the software and everything else. So that's where
Right.
this comes out.
Right. And it's interesting because obviously they're going pretty much fast into Horizon and the headset and the technology for VR and such. And meanwhile, in the news, I want to say it's like weekly right now. Like Meta is getting bashed with fines and all sorts of things, and rumors are flying around. And we're learning that they were calling Zuckerberg when he was basically focused on you or your department as being like caught in the gaze of the eye of Sauron.
Yeah, I can see that. I can absolutely see that. And another thing they just did, and this was also news that broke today too, is they canceled the F8 developers conference. And they've had that every year, and that's where they showcase new games, and that's where they showcase a new headset sometimes, or that's where they showcase, other things you can do with the Quest and even the Rift at the time.
Hmm.
So they just canceled it, and their reason was we're canceling it so we can continue our focus to build the metaverse. And that concerns me very much. It almost seems like they're pulling a bait and switch. Here's what it is. It's a great gaming device. Okay, everybody's got one. Okay, all of a sudden now they're canceling this developers conference, and it's not for them. It's for all the developers who are going to develop for the headset. It's not just for us to see what's new. So they've canceled the whole thing. So I don't know. I don't know what
It
they're
could be
doing.
because of the press. It's really bad. I don't know how much you've seen of it, but it's bad. It's
Yeah,
weekly, and they're all big.
yeah. No, I get
So
it.
it might
And
not be the right time for that.
but has that ever stopped them ever? Have they ever gotten good press? Ever?
No, but it's bad. It's really bad. It's up there with ever since the whole leak where the person came up and they were on CNN talking about it in an interview. It's all like more stuff on that level. And maybe they feel like maybe it's more than one thing, but perhaps maybe it's not the right timing because they feel like they're under the microscope in the wrong way and they don't want this to get lost,
Could be.
and
Yeah.
you never know. Maybe it's technology with the product that they feel like that they're in too close competition with and they want to leap ahead.
Yeah, it could also be that it's not ready, even though reports are that it is now in production. That could also be because the last two quests, they announced it and boom, you could go on and order it and get it in 3 weeks. So maybe it's just not ready yet.
Hmm.
And they're waiting till later in the year. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But, that's one of the two. The other one I did want to touch on a little bit is in the code for the latest drivers for the Oculus PC. There is something buried in there called VR AirBridge. And people with way more time than we have have dived into the code a little more and found some information. Now, this is from Upload VR, another great site I recommend that you guys check out. It says code referencing an unannounced D-Link AirBridge was discovered in the Oculus PC drivers by software engineer is Caitlin03. Like these software engineers, whenever a new firmware comes out, they automatically start comparing and looking for new things. So, so kudos to them for that. But the code suggests it's likely based on an existing Wi-Fi 6 USB 3 adapter. Upload VR was able to verify its findings, decompiling the same driver. The code is only present in the public test channel, but there's also a new string reference called Setup VR AirBridge. Now, it actually references a D-Link, and this is the D-Link one. There's a D-Link, what is it called here? DWA X1850. And this is basically just an existing Wi-Fi 6 USB 3 adapter. Now, my thought is, and this is most of the speculation on the internet, is that they are trying to solve my biggest complaint with the Quest is that it's not direct to lens and it's compressed and it looks terrible. And not just wireless, even if you use a cable. So maybe they figure if they can modify this to stream only between the headset and the dongle back and forth.
Right. So just to I guess catch people up that are not familiar with the AirBridge. This is basically the dongle that goes into the headset that allows you to connect. Allows you to be wireless and connects the feed from the headset into the computer.
Yeah. So the technology is called AirLink, but currently it uses your Wi-Fi network. And, your Wi-Fi network has other things going on, of course. And it requires tons of speed to do this because really, in my opinion, the biggest error that they made was they eliminated the ability to use it when you use a cable to just plug it into the video card and send it and treat the lenses like monitors, which every other headset does.
Right.
So instead, they retroactively came up with a solution where they're literally streaming to your headset. So the quality, we're not talking about streaming 4K video here. We're talking about streaming dual 4K rendered graphics because you need dual to get the stereo image. So, the amount of bandwidth that you need to do that to look razor sharp is something I still don't think even this will be able to pull off. But it is a step in the right direction for people who don't want to rely on their crappy Wi-Fi to get the best possible image and not get any frame drops. And in VR, frame drops are way more critical than just a gamer.
For sure.
If you're gaming on a flat monitor and you have a low frame rate, it stutters or whatever it is. If that happens in your headset, you get sick. And even if it's something you don't detect, if it's a low enough of a frame rate that you can subconsciously pick up the flicker, that's headache city, nausea city, even if you're not moving. So let's hope that this is. I'm also hopeful on this too, that this could be something that takes it in the next direction. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're ever going to create a headset that goes direct to lens, sadly. And even here, there's a little USB port you can see towards the front is what that looks like.
Right.
That looks like a USB-C port, which means all it would do is give you streaming as well.
So I mean, Wi-Fi obviously can be shoddy, but there are major upgrades to the infrastructure where they're bringing in 5G and everything else, and 5G is supposed to be not just an upgrade; it's way more than that. So it's possible that that's something that they're keeping in mind, and perhaps if you have the proper router that can handle 5G, maybe it'll run fine.
Well, this is going to just do a Wi-Fi 6 connection from the PC. This is specifically for PCVR. So to go from...
Well, so it's not involving the router.
It's not involving the router at all. It's just sending the dongle from the dongle to the headset, only the game video image, and that's it. So that's the only purpose of it. And, on a side note, 5G is way overrated. It's just 4G with a little more speed.
Yeah, and
they said it was going to be.
And this is similar tech that they use for video cameras. You can film, in 4K, and they'll dongle it and then go back to a receiver that's nearby, and that works pretty well. This is probably a little bit more intensive than that, but at least it's not something that's so brand new that it has no hope. I mean, hopefully it's applicable.
Yeah, but the problem here is that your PC now, if you want to run a high resolution headset, and I have the Reverb G2, I think it's 2160 by 2160 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I oversample a little, so I'm in the 3000s to send it. So just to do that alone and generate the game, you need a really powerful PC and card.
Yeah.
Now you're asking the PC to do two things: to render the game and stream it to the headset and data back from the headset, in addition to rendering the game. So, I have games here, even with this beefy thing. I have an RTX 3080. I have an i9 processor. I have like 32 gigs of RAM. There's nothing slowing this thing down, but certain games at the super high resolution will still sometimes struggle a little bit. Microsoft Flight Simulator is a prime example.
Right.
It looks gorgeous, but sometimes it struggles a little. So, by adding another responsibility, because these headsets do have better resolution, so you're adding more responsibility to that PC. So we'll see if the technology holds up, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. I can't wait for it all to be here, because Ready Player One is always my dream for the world. I'm excited to get there, as long as we don't go too far and lose ourselves. And I'm sure it's going to happen to some degree. The next reality show will be somebody like lost in a fake reality. But I'm excited.
Hey, look, I've spent enough time with myself. I'm okay with losing them.
Actually, reality hasn't been that great right now, so I guess it's okay to go. Exactly. Yeah. So, okay, guys, so that's it. You have just two major leaks for Meta. Definitely check it out. We're definitely keeping our eyes on everything else. So if you want to find out what's going on, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us at Ready Headset Go, and you'll get the latest information as we get it, guys, and we're happy to share it with you. So that's it for Ready Headset Go. I'm Tony Hansen, joined by Rob Sprance. We'll see you next time. Thanks.